Okay, I believe we have, looking by our numbers, looks like we have everybody back into the main session. For our group leaders, possibly Patricia, Eunice, and Annie, how would you like to go forward with sharing each group's primary thoughts? Or was that exercise done on the note-taking portion electronically?
I think what we decided was that each of the facilitators would report out a couple of the highlights from their group.
Who'd like to start us off?
I'm happy to go first. We had lots of discussion about the survey results. I would say there were lots of discussion, but I'll share two key takeaways. One was around the strategy around no new natural gas. The comment was that there's been a lot of public feedback regarding this element, and the feeling is that we should be considering options for renewable natural gas, and options not take away that choice from customers, but look at ways to make customers have an option to opt in for renewable natural gas. The other piece was around affordability. We talked about new building codes, new net zero requirements, other possible new standards for green building. And the comment was that anything that adds cost to construction will certainly be carried on to the customer and have concern in terms of affordability of new housing.
I'll go
Anyone else
next.
from that breakout that wanted to share anything? Okay, thank you.
Our group actually had very similar conversations around the no new natural gas and any sort of mandatory energy code, mandatory kind of requirements, and the impacts that, again, on cost and affordability. We did talk about incentives and is that a better approach? But then we also had conversation about, who's actually funding those incentives, that money or that sometimes incentives that comes also from somewhere. And so at the end, we're actually talking about the idea of that philanthropic fund, and maybe that's a good way that people can give to that, and it can be used as incentives for some of these other strategies. We also talked about kind of really balancing and making sure we do a deeper dive on some of these strategies to really understand the impact. Maybe, the trade-offs in terms of what it can accomplish is outweighed by the negative impacts to businesses and building and costs. Anyone else want to add from my group? That was a fast and furious summary. Okay.
I'll go ahead and go next. So Julie Warnicki, and we also had a lot of conversation about the natural gas thing. I think the one thing I would add was that there was a emphasis on the need to distinguish between residential versus industrial uses of natural gas, that they're not, the same. There's certain things that really rely on natural gas. Not that I think anybody in the room supported going away from, that as a choice, but just wanted to make that clear. Let's see, there was also concern about finances and the impact on affordability, not forcing anything on anyone, but encouraging. On the gas tax, we talked about that a bit, and the general sense I got was that people thought that, one, it was sort of going away as more people to switch to electric vehicles, and that it would also unbearably burden people who are not able to go all electric, or go to electric vehicles, including both lower income as well as people who work in industries that require going out in the field, landscapers, construction workers, things like that. The pervious pavement concept seemed to, we didn't discuss it a lot, but everybody seemed to think that that was probably easier to implement. And then the philanthropic fund, there was discussion about how the city has been a good partner in the recent sort of getting COVID funds out, and how that system could probably be leveraged to, for other benefits through climate action planning. So anybody else from my group, did I butcher your comments in that summary?
Okay, who would like to take us to the finish line here? We have two more groups, if I'm not mistaken.
I can jump in on this. We had a good discussion. Well, our group was well represented by builders and developers. I'll go just real quick through all of our items. So for the first question regarding the home energy score, I think we had some good discussion on, instead of doing this house by house, could you look at some larger metrics that you could get more of like a summary? So maybe based on when the house is built, what type of, how it's being supplied right now with energy, utilities it has it had any upgrades? So instead of getting this like house by house, you get more of a summary of this is probably what your house is at based on its conditions. And I think just some concerns of adding costs to sellers at the point that they're selling. The second question, for the net zero, we had some concerns on the legality of that. Mike and our group brought up that cities can't adopt their own building codes under state law. So I guess just something to like work out and make sure we have the right wording there. And then that housing is already getting more expensive, and any additional measures that we add to that's going to increase the cost. And that as we've through code, we've already done some of the easy big ones. So you may be adding like additional costs and getting less return for those investments. For 3, we also had a robust conversation around natural gas. I think one of the things that was a good thought to it is in terms of like resiliency. So like this winter when many of us were out of power, those who had gas still had a gas fireplace. They still had gas burners. So I guess like the redundancy of energy sources is important. And then they added that for a new home development, going all electric versus using gas adds about $13,000 for new construction in this climate zone. And then also just looking at the grid as a whole, like where is our power coming from? And if most of it is coming from gas, does it matter if you're using the gas in your home or if the gas is being used to generate your electricity? For the philanthropic fund, we didn't have a lot of conversation around that one. Implementing a gas tax. Is there actual biking demand in the city? Something brought up, like making that investment is good, but will people use it? And then will people drive, if the city has higher gas rates than another community, will people drive to that other community to get cheaper gas, thereby actually increasing miles? And then 6, we didn't have a whole lot of discussion around 6. And then 7, we talked about pervious pavement, and there are some comments that the durability of the pavement may not be there, so it adds costs. And then just, increasing landscaping, again, adds cost of projects and may make them less feasible. Anyone else in my group want to hop in and clarify anything?
All right, we ready to roll into our final group?
Hi, Tom. I think we've heard from all 4 of the breakout rooms.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. I, for some reason, thought there were 5, but I am not the orchestrator of technology here. Great. We've come to the conclusion. We are at the 12:30 moment. This is an ongoing process, and I really appreciate that Eunice and Patricia and Annie have brought this forward. Councillor Anderson and Councillor Gonzalez, thank you both so much for your investment of time and engaging with this group. We have some work ahead, and Eunice and Patricia and Annie, why don't you provide kind of some conclusion for what will occur next?
Well, in the short term, we will post the recording on the website, as well as, and Rob, nod if this is correct, well, and also the results of the poll and the Jamboard notes. Okay, so those will all be records for everyone to look at again from the different groups if you want to view those. And then next steps is, as I said, the council work session will be the next big step on September 20th, and that will be live streamed on the city's YouTube channel, so you can tune in there. And then going to council in December is the intended schedule.
Eunice, anything on the Our Salem end that you'd like to recap?
Sure. We hope to have a revised zoning map out by early September and a draft comprehensive plan with the goals and policies also in September. Our work session is slated for October, so Patricia will be at mine and I will be at hers because we're closely collaborating on the two projects.
Annie, any last comments as the organizer of this meeting?
Just want to thank everyone again for taking the time. We'll certainly share your comments and regroup as staff to talk about the feedback. So thank you very much.
Zachary and Eric, thank you for drawing our organization's participants together. Those of you who took an hour and a half of your time, we know how valuable your time is. And appreciate you thinking of the city during this 90 minutes. Thank you all for engaging. We know what will be coming next and the steps, and please utilize the resources by both the Salem Chamber, SEDCOR, and of course the City of Salem to stay up to date on all developments. Thank you all. Have a great afternoon. Thank you for supporting Salem-based businesses.